WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
A show of unity. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Russian President Vladimir Putin has arrived in China for a state visit as his country's forces step up the offensive in northeastern Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the White House doesn't usually comment on these type of meetings, but she says she wants to make one point clear.
We find it unacceptable that the Chinese companies are helping Putin wage this war against Ukraine. And if China purports to want good relations with Europe and other countries, it cannot continue to fuel the biggest threat to European security right now.
Before the visit, Putin told Chinese media the Kremlin is prepared to negotiate over the war in Ukraine, but he said negotiations must take into account the interests of all countries involved in the conflict. Doctors in Slovakia are said to be fighting to save the life of the nation's prime minister, who was shot several times during an assassination attempt.
The Slovakian defense minister, speaking to reporters, is calling the condition of the nation's prime minister, Robert Fico, extraordinarily serious. Fico was shot multiple times earlier today after a political event. The prime minister was reportedly shot in the stomach. A suspect is in custody but has not been named. Slovakia's interior minister is now saying the first phases of the investigation are revealing the attack appears to be politically motivated. Fico has been described as a divisive figure who supports Russia and whom many Slovakians fear may lead their country out of the NATO alliance.
Fox's Colonel Scott. Challenge accepted. President Biden and former President Trump have agreed to two debates after President Biden challenged Trump online this morning.
Make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
CNN will host a debate June 27th. ABC will host the second on September 10th. America is listening to Fox News.
'93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A police shooting Wednesday afternoon. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. It's what police are calling a fatal officer-involved shooting on the northwest side of the capital city. John Herrick reports.
The investigation began early Wednesday morning when IMPD found a person shot on Watercress Way near West 71st Street and Zionsville Road. IMPD Chief Chris Bailey says they found that a person had been shot but was alive. Then the pursuit was on for a suspect.
Another officer arriving on scene got out of his marked car in a fully marked police car, and as he was running up to one of the houses behind me, yelled, "Stop, stop, stop," and encountered the suspect in between houses, and there was an exchange of gunfire.
Bailey says the man who was shot is dead. The officer is okay. No one else was hurt. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Duan Taylor and Kyiv Weathers were not supposed to have guns, but they were spotted with them at an apartment last week. IMPD got a warrant that arrested both men and then searched the apartment.
They also located approximately 80 grams of methamphetamine, multiple pounds of marijuana, and then some evidence that there was actually some drug trafficking going on out of that apartment.
IMPD officer Amanda Hibschman. It's possible that you could get some more rain Thursday.
Rain's right back into the picture Thursday night into Friday, and then we're probably going to be dealing with off and on rain through Saturday morning at least, with the potential that it could have a few showers and storms going into the afternoon on Saturday.
Andrew White with the National Weather Service says flooding is the most likeliest of all the risks, especially in low-lying areas. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
As we make our way towards Wednesday evening, temperatures will drop into the upper 50s, and it looks like we'll have partly cloudy conditions with winds out of the northeast at a gentle 5 to 10 miles per hour as we move into tomorrow. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Arsutis for 93 WIBC.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Hey, what's up? Hammer here. After a full day of working with Nigel, I could imagine nothing better than going home and getting lazy in a Lazy Boy from Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Thompson Furniture in Columbus guarantees the lowest price and free delivery within 75 miles of Columbus and interest-free financing on all Lazy Boy furniture.
Hey, it's Nigel. Right now, Thompson's is having a Lazy Boy 50% off sale. The only place to buy your Lazy Boy furniture Furniture is Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Long live the lazy.
At First Financial Bank, we have 4.5% APY on money market accounts and high rates on CDs. It's easy. Just stop into your local First Financial Bank to open your account, and we'll do the rest. What are you waiting for? Start growing your money today. APY equals annual percentage yield. $25,000 minimum deposit required for money market. Offer ends June 1st, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bankatfirst.com for details.
First! Brace for the Indiana heat with Chapman Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. Get your AC tune-up for enduring efficiency and comfort. Visit ChapmanHeating.com.
Remember, Chapman, the man for all seasons. ChapmanHeating.com.
I'm Alan Sir Jr., two-time Indy 500 winner and a client at Exercise Inc. Change your life in 20 minutes once a week. ExerciseInc.com.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit IndyHumane.org.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey.
The Amber and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I'm Tony Kinnett, and as many out there on the radio waves and the beautiful trash heap of the internet know, I, in my very, very scant spare time, run a satire page over on Twitter X. It's called the U.S. Ministry of Truth. It's what this seal is all about. And I created this satirical page after the Biden administration announced that it was going to create with the Department of Homeland Security a disinformation governance board, and that it was going to form a governmental institution with the Department of Homeland Security that was going to basically police speech and tell everyone what was true and what wasn't. And it got memed into death. Quite honestly, because it sounds exactly like the Ministry of Truth, and hence the account was born. And ever since then, I've been posting kind of a slightly darker form of satire, because, by the way, that's what satire is meant to be. It is supposed to be a dark parody of things that are going on, not just to make you wholeheartedly chuckle like a family circus comic in the newspapers, but to prompt thought due to the severity or, again, the dark humor that's often presented in satire. And I send you all the way back to one of the most classic pieces of satire, A Modest Proposal. But we're not serving up children today. No, what is going on in the United States national stage right now is far beyond parody. And this is something that the editor over at the Babylon Bee, which is a major satire site, and then I, of course, over at the Ministry of Truth, were shocked because New York City Mayor Eric Adams got up in front of a press conference and was talking about how, well, we need to give all of these illegal immigrants jobs. We need to make sure that we save all of these jobs for things that the illegal immigrants should already be good at. And this is where we get kind of a really weird space, because whereas squad members like AOC and then her weird older mentor Bernie Sanders like to say that illegal immigrants all turn out to be like doctors and engineers, those that are on the kind of the older corporate left have made the weird statements before that illegal immigrants are like, if we don't bring in illegal immigrants, who's going to pick the crops? That's what, of course, Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has said repeatedly. And Eric Adams said that there's a huge lifeguard shortage in New York City. You know, you think essential jobs, obviously lifeguards, first thing that comes to my mind. And so he got up in front of the press and said that, well, I mean, there are so many people that are already good at swimming, being that they're migrants who probably, I don't know what, like swam to Florida or like crossed the Rio Grande, like, good heavens. So suggesting, you know, that migrants are already good at swimming, they should just be lifeguards, which, you know, oh, good heavens. What a thing to say. And it shocked so many of us that run these satirical accounts, because I could not have come up with a better satire statement if I had tried. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I had made the joke that Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, who had just said that there are black inner city children who don't know what the word computer means, that she had laughed off further allegations of racism. Again, this is the satirical joke. That she had laughed off this because, you know, she eats fried chicken and watermelon all the time. The satirical joke being, a lot of times when people on the far left try to eschew measures of racism, they end up being far more racist with the comments that they say. And here's Eric Adams just, cutting out the middleman. Hey, migrants already swam the border. Let's make them lifeguards. Oh my gosh. Well, it's not any better on the national stage because President Biden has decided that it's time to try out his Clint Eastwood. So here's President Biden challenging Donald Trump to a double debate.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
So for those that are watching the live stream, the video is cut like between 10 and 15 times. Now, a jump cut is... You see me actually do this in interviews, sometimes because radio segments have to fit between about 8 and 11 minutes maximum. When I do a recorded interview, if you watch the live stream, you might actually see my frame cut. It means I cut out some kind of a pause, maybe the word or like, as some of you have commented that I say a little bit too much. And that's a common thing in video editing. You don't do it too much because that shows that you're a bad speaker. If you can't form coherent sentences so that you need jump cuts every couple of seconds, you're probably very incoherent and not good at speaking. In that less than 30-second video where President Biden said, I think I haven't counted, between like 50 and 60 words, they cut 14 times. And he's clearly reading a teleprompter off the screen. This is not going to be good if the President of the United States shows up on a debate stage and relies on this kind of whatever. He barely made it through the State of the Union address. When he's facing some type of political opponent, it's not really going to be pretty. Now, look, the other side of this coin is how is Trump going to act in this debate? And to even begin discussing President Trump's, former President Trump's campaign for election in November, we have to talk about Trump's trials, and we're not going to be doing that tonight. And here's the reason why. Trump's trials have a lot of moving parts. Lots of people right now are weighing in on the porn star case in New York, from former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy to Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, former Representative Liz Cheney to Senator Mitt Romney. Everyone's throwing in their 2 cents, which with inflation is, more like 42 tenths of a cent, but that's not really important at the moment. So we're going to get to those kind of things. All right, we're going to get to the Trump stuff probably tomorrow, because I've got a hunch, based on some individuals that I've spoken to in the last day, that there are going to be some even wilder statements made about the former president of the United States trial in New York. So we'll get there. The most important thing that we need to talk about regarding these future 2 debates hosted by CNN and ABC is how Biden actually speaks when he's off the teleprompter. Here is President Biden 2 days ago. It's a clip from ABC.
There's always have been compelling value sets to visions of America. One of those value sets is revenge and retribution.
So I don't know if you guys know anything about debates, but you cannot actually read off a teleprompter in a debate setting and scenario. Now, the Biden administration has requested that these basically be virtual debates so that theoretically President Biden might actually have some kind of a pseudo live updated teleprompter with interns rapidly typing things out for him to respond to Trump with. That would be really funny, because I can guarantee you that the very justice of God would create some type of amazing Anchorman style situation. One can only hope and dream. The second reason that we need to consider more than just sitting in front of the camera and doing jump cuts for Biden here is that President Biden, as you can see in this video if you're watching the live stream, has to be escorted and directed by a Marine following an event at the Rose Garden. Now, many of you out there, I know, tune into the show from all over the world. You may not be familiar with the architecture of Washington, D.C. So I have a fancy little model here for you. This is a Lego model of the White House. Now, back here, I flip it around, you can see the Rose Garden. The Rose Garden is one of the 2 main entrances to the White House. Now, if you're the President of the United States, one would think that after not only being there as president for the last, 3.5 years, but also as being vice president for 8 years and being a senator since Noah got off the ark, you might know your way back from the Rose Garden into the White House. And the president of the United States, it takes a Marine actually guiding him around with a GPS to get the president of the United States in. So excellent stuff there. There are a lot of other really awful optics things. Of course, Blinken playing guitar in Kyiv. We're going to be talking about that there in the last segment. Inflation is terrible. That's the last big optic that the Biden administration is really, really struggling with, because the economy just can't be wished away. As much as the White House administration has tried very desperately to kind of nod things off, and Karine Jean-Pierre has taken some very weird questions as of late because President Biden is talking about how inflation was 9% and he's brought it down, and actually that's not the case at all. And the Fed is currently refusing to either raise the interest rate to help lower inflation or to cut the interest rate to give the economy a false sense of security before the election. So Biden is genuinely up a tree in regard to his administration's policies and popularity with Americans. And it's just not going to get better with a flashy multi-cut TikTok video. Up next, we're going to be talking to Daniel Buck from the Fordham Institute because Boy Scouts have taken the path that we all knew it was going to take. Stick around. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Like magic, it appears in the sky. A rainbow. Somewhere over that rainbow lurks not bluebirds or dreams. Hidden behind that beauty is trouble.
Get a cone tornado right there.
Don't be fooled.
Tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornadoes. Oh my gosh, look at it. Oh my gosh.
This spring, depend on your severe weather station.
Baseball size hell.
93 WIBC.
Paid by Up-Level Rewards.
Hey, where did you get all that cash at?
You mean this 750 cash that's in my app right now?
Yes, that's 750 cash. Where did you get all that cash at?
Easy. I went to easycash44.com and claimed $750.
You claimed $750?
Yes. Just go to the easycash44.com and follow the simple instructions on the site. Once you finish, the $750 is yours.
It's that easy to claim $750?
Yes. You just answer the basic questions on the site, then claim the deals they show you and get $750 cash sent to your app.
I'm always short on cash. I'm going to easycash44.com right now to claim my $750 cash at easycash44.com.
Ready to claim your $750? Get started right now at easycash44.com. Go to easycash44.com. Just go to easycash44.com, follow the simple instructions, and claim your $750 fast and easy. Go to easycash44.com. That's easycash44.com. Go to easycash44.com. easycash44.com. easycash44.com.
Are you worried about your taxes? Okay, so I'm talking to those of you out there that have not filed in a few years with the IRS or state. It's time to get worried, and here's why. The IRS is getting back from their own COVID lockdown, and they're hiring more enforcers, and they're going to come after people that owe taxes. So if you're a 1099 worker, and maybe you just plain forgot to file your taxes, you need to call the professionals right now at the Tax Helpline. They are experts at knowing the tax regulations, and their goal is to help you pay as little as possible. Call right now and get a 100% free tax evaluation. Remember, before the IRS knocks on your door, knock on our door. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, make this free call right now.
Call Taxes 321 now at 800-808-9443. 800-808-9443. That's 800-808-9443.
The laundry room. For as long as I can remember, this was the only place to get a good Wi-Fi connection. Until we got Xfinity. Now we have Wi-Fi all over the house. So, you're probably wondering why I'm still hanging out in here, when I could be happily streaming in the attic, basement, or literally any other room. Well, the truth is, it's warm in here. And I like the smell of dryer sheets.
Get out of here, weirdo.
Hey, close the door! You're letting cool air in.
That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi with Xfinity. Now through June 21st, get started with 300 megabit internet for $35 a month for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And get free Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
Reggie was a nurse for 16 years.
I had become very burnt out. I wasn't making good money.
Then it happened.
There was an ad for My Computer Career, and it just spoke to me.
My Computer Career was the best decision he ever made.
I could study anywhere from my laptop, and I was working in the first couple weeks of me being in class.
Reggie hit a home run.
The field is teeming with jobs.
Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
The school is amazing.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Our patient's most common regret statement? I just wish I would have done this sooner.
Find out more at adventknows.com because breathing well will help you live better.
AdventKnows.com. It's the Zero Res flash sale of $129 for 3 rooms this week only. Don't wait. 388-5141. Book online at zeroresindy.com.
Dents happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill Dent Removal. Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
This hour on WIBC, powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. It's good to be back with you, and it is good to, quite honestly, have grown up in the era before Boy Scouts became, quote, Scouting America, end quote. And my editor-in-chief, actually, Kate Trinko, wrote on this over at Daily Signal, and just this weird system of thought that we've gone into. And it all boils down to something that those of us in education were sounding the alarm on about 10 years ago. Joining me to discuss that is Daniel Buck from the Fordham Institute, calling in tonight from Milwaukee. How's it going, man?
It's going well, and rolling in my eyes at the institution that I used to be a part of. I'm an Eagle Scout, in fact, and just so disappointed and frustrated and angered, honestly, to have read this news.
It really is frustrating to watch all of these institutions that have, again, been bedrock foundations of American culture and society. The Boy Scouts activities, uniforms, culture was pretty synonymous and well-known, almost ubiquitous, to dig out the thesaurus, around the country. And now it's a shell of its former self. And a lot of people are asking, well, how did this happen? Why is this going on? And this is something that you and I have a little bit more, perhaps, foreshadowing knowledge of, because, and we were talking about this earlier today, we were told this stuff wasn't going to happen. Remember? I mean, we were told. Go ahead, man. Take it.
The grand rule and storyline that pops up over and again with any kind of leftist narrative is that this isn't happening. You guys are overreacting to, okay, I guess it's happening sometimes, some places, but those are just outliers. And then you blink and all of a sudden it's mandatory everywhere. Say the pronouns, you bigot.
Right. It goes from, it's not happening to, oh, it's happening and it's really good that it's happening. It's really breaking some systemic inequities and a bunch of other nonsense, as though there was this host of girls that were feeling forlorn and left out from Boy Scouts, and it was all really terrible and sad. This wasn't something the Brady Bunch addressed back in the 60s. I don't quite understand why we have to keep coming back to this. But look, we were told this, the same thing, that, this wasn't happening, with LGBTQ being targeted at youth. And then it was the transing of kids that wasn't happening. It was critical race theory. It was diversity, equity, and inclusion. This stuff isn't happening. Nobody's coming for your kids, Buck. You're crazy. That's not happening at all.
And then again, you blink, and all of a sudden we have men and women's sports, gendered bathrooms are now oppressive, and Boy Scouts and basically all gendered spaces have been destroyed, and we're just going to mix this all together. But of course, different spaces for different genders, where boys can learn to be men and girls can learn to be strong women. Like, these are good and healthy and important for development.
Well, again, we've taken all of these ideas of what were originally traditional ideas of masculinity and femininity, because, again, it's almost an initial kick reaction that you can't say teach boys how to be men and girls how to be women. You have to say teach girls how to be strong women, so that you don't think, so that no one thinks that we're like suggesting that there might be women who don't want to be like business suit wearing miniature Hillary Clinton high profile business women. And there's all of this nonsensical ideas that traditional ideas of gender and masculinity and femininity were bad, unless you're talking about transgenderism, right? Because then it's, well, do you find yourself doing things that boys do? Are you doing things that girls do? I mean, this really has become quite the hypocritical stance.
It's a full horseshoe theory where a few decades ago it was oppressive to suggest that men and women are different, and now we've completely reconstructed these gender stereotypes. So we have people like Dylan Mulvaney cosplaying the grossest stereotype of femininity possible, right? Wearing hot pink and drinking white wine in a bath while listening to Joni Mitchell or whatever it is. And like, we've come full circle. We've come full circle, and the left has brought us there.
So a lot of people have sent in this question, and I've almost touched it on Mail Time on the show a couple of times, and now I feel like it's really the appropriate time to discuss this. So people have brought up that we have the "it's not happening" section, and then it goes over to the, well, it's actually happening, and it's good that it is. And how do we get there? How do we actually make the bridge from "it's not happening" to sometimes to "it's a good thing"? And here's my best estimate. So you start off with some normal place, and those on the left, the hyper crazy, insane, far progressive liberal crowd comes in, and they'll say, well, you guys should be open as free speech advocates to just letting people who want to participate, just talk about it in the open. And then it moves from, well, I mean, really, their views are just as important as yours, so we could just talk about it all the time. And then it becomes, we're going to do this, and you're evil if you don't include it. How many times in education have we heard, if you don't believe this, you're evil? I mean, it's baked into every professional development and training that we went through.
It happened with the book bans recently, too, where there are none of these books here, and then, okay, it's good that they're here, and some kids should have access to them. And now we're starting to see all of these explicit books, people saying, well, you have to read them, or else your kid's going to grow up to be like a school shooter, or whatever it is, whatever ridiculous accusation it is.
That's a really good point.
People's brains break when children are involved, because there's just so much pathos inherent in that discussion, right? What about the children? And then all logic flies out the window. Is this good for them? Is this effective? Is this a sound, coherent argument? That just all goes out the window because there's so much pathos. There's that small little violin playing in the background, and people just let their feelings take over.
And we're on with Daniel Buck from the Fordham Institute talking about this weird trend in which something goes from, oh, well, you should just have the freedom to mention it, as though there was anyone out there that was like forbidding children from saying the word gay in public schools like 10 or 20 years ago. And now all of a sudden it becomes, well, you have to believe this. And again, you and I have talked about school system after school system that forces students to participate in the activism. Like that trans day of, silence? And they require remembrance, silence, visibility, all 413 magical holidays during the year. So they force kids to participate in these events so that now students have kind of this informal caste system where near the end of my time teaching, I know near the end of your time teaching, we would discuss that like students would kind of separate into this two-tiered system of either you believe these things and you're good because you're an ally, or you're an evil bigot, and then all of the ist and phobes. I mean, there's no way that's healthy for long-term development.
Yeah, asking children to deny basic truths about the world, that's corrupting to the soul in a deep, deep down kind of way. It's amazing that 7 years ago, when I started teaching, it would have been completely uncontroversial to say boys and girls are different. And then last year, I got pulled into the principal's office and reprimanded and chewed out by my principal for suggesting in class that boys cannot become women and women cannot become men. It's amazing. Again, you blink your eyes.
And that was at a Christian school too, wasn't it?
Yes, sadly it was.
Ah, what a shame. Well, I have to at least rely on the recent trend that a lot of people are getting kind of wise to this cycle that's been played over and over and over so many times that people are starting to kind of mouth the lyrics as soon as the quote-unquote song comes on air. Daniel Buck from the Fordham Institute, really good to have you on just to break this down. I'm sorry again, as an Eagle Scout, that the organization that you grew up with has fallen apart. Hopefully someone will actually pick up the original Boy Scouts and bring it back to its former glory.
Yes, all of the campfires and chopping wood and time outdoors with, other guys learning how to be a man. It's a good institution, and I'm sad to see it go.
Well, now we have to learn about drag and its important history. We'll be back in just a second. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Retirement. When you picture your retirement, what do you see? Travel, relaxation, hobbies, more time with the people you love? Or are you met with uncertainty and concern? Whatever emotion the word retirement conjures up for you, Howard Bailey Financial is ready to help. Our financial advisors are not just experts in retirement strategies, they are your partners in crafting a personalized retirement plan that aligns with your dreams and aspirations. At Howard Bailey, we prioritize one thing above all else, your peace of mind. Don't leave your retirement planning to chance. Instead, call 866-482-9559 now to schedule your personal financial review and see how Howard Bailey can help give you confidence in your retirement goals. Again, call 866-482-9559.
This endorsement was not provided by a client of Howard Bailey. This individual was compensated for this endorsement. For more information, visit howardbailey.com/TS1.
What people suffering from nasal breathing, snoring, and sleep apnea problems want is for their issues to be fixed. And at Advent, that is precisely what we do. Here, there are no Band-Aids, but there is a thorough approach to get to the root of your problem. And in tens of thousands of cases, finding simple solutions, which are undeniably effective, have made remarkably positive impacts on people's lives. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. For years, patients have been traveling literally from around the world to come to us to find what no one else has been able to give them. And that's why now we've come closer to you.
If your quality of life has been diminished because of nasal breathing, snoring, or sleep apnea problems, and you don't know who to turn to, go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
The great vehicles are at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield, and they are your EV headquarters. You should shop the Moore selection. Head to Andy Moore Ford or AndyMooreFord.com. Shop the EV models like the Mustang Mach-E, which I've driven, the E-Transit, the F-150 Lightning, which is incredible. All in stock with more arriving daily. Check out More Power. The Ford Mustang Mach-E combines the iconic Mustang heritage with the benefits of an electric vehicle. Not just efficient, incredibly stylish, it's an exhilarating driving experience. But you need more room, more versatility out of your vehicle. The all-electric F-150 Lightning has you covered with seating for up to 5, intelligent backup power, and onboard power for all your tools and gear. This is the all-electric truck that is built for it all. Visit my friends down at Andy Moore Ford, and they'll help make the switch to an EV easier than ever. Check them out on Main Street in Plainfield or online at Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R.
I love Andy.
Shop anytime online, AndyMooreFord.com.
Tune in to the Absolute Retirement Planning Show.
When retirement comes about, we're now relying on what we have saved to meet those needs.
Sundays at 9 a.m. right here on 93 WIBC.
Michaelis presents Password. The word is basement.
Wet. Rain. Leaky. Faucet. Stinky. Socks. Moldy. Underwear. No, it's basement. Really moldy underwear. Well, sometimes. Ew.
Basement waterproofing and French drains. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
Call today.
get the shameless, the shameless.
Come on, take your basement back. 844-FIX-INDY.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Overcoming drug addiction is difficult. The road to recovery is different for everyone. Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Now, normally, when we do a segment with Stephen Kent every single week, we talk about what he's watching. And we gripe about the cultural nonsense that plagues the movies and the TV and the games that you want to enjoy on your time off. And this week, that's not the case, because there's breaking legislation from Florida that is going to change the very fabric of meat. That's right. And so from the Consumer Choice Center, Stephen Kent, this week, it's not what you watching, it's what you eating. So bring it down for us.
It's what you eating, what you not eating. And in Florida, nobody's going to be eating lab-grown meat.
And why is that?
This is Ron DeSantis's big move to kick the globalists and the World Economic Forum out of Florida and disallow the cultivation of animal cell-grown meat from the state of Florida. Now, there are different kinds of meat alternatives on the market, or actually you might call them protein alternatives. There's the very famous plant-grown meat. These all sound very contradictory just when you say them.
Yeah.
But Impossible Burgers, Beyond Burgers, these are very popular brands that took off around 2020, and you can find them now in McDonald's and Popeye's Chicken and Burger King, stuff like that.
Right.
But then there's also the animal cell grown meat. So this is when they actually take cells from cows and chickens and they start cultivating them inside test tubes in a lab to grow chicken breasts for consumption. And it has been cleared in the past year by the Food and Drug Administration as healthy to eat, but Florida ain't having it.
So I'm going to offer just my hot take as someone who really doesn't have a side on this particular issue, because while I don't personally think that I would be interested in a slab of lab-grown meat at the moment, as a scientist, as a former biology teacher, I think it's really freaking cool that we can do that. As a people, that you can take cells from an animal, and they're still real cells from said animal, and you can take them and you can put them in an artificial environment, and you can get the muscle cells and the fat cells to continue growing, so you could theoretically create Wagyu-style beef with like that many layers of fat. And create, I mean, I know I'm supposed to as the conservative, and I really like Governor Ron DeSantis.
Turn in your conservative card, Tony.
Yeah, I'm taking the libertarian angle on this one. I don't know why the government needs to mandate that I can't eat lab-grown meat if I wanted to.
Yeah, and so like we'll be clear about the politics here. There is a lot of money that comes from the Cattle Ranchers Association in Florida and is pretty evenly distributed between the Agriculture Department, a handful of key lawmakers in Florida, and Ron DeSantis himself. And the agriculture or the cattle ranching business is also facing a record shortage of actual cattle around the entire country. We are actually dealing with a little bit of a supply decline in this country.
It's a huge topic.
That's going to go on for at least the next decade.
It's a huge topic up at Purdue University here in Indiana with their agricultural programs. A lot of people in like the majors with livestock genetics, they talk about this constantly. So you're really on point here as far as Indiana radio is concerned. You just might not know it in this instance.
Yeah, and it's so you've got a drop in supply, but you're also experiencing a periodic drop in demand. There is a rise in people who don't eat meat, vegetarians, vegans. We're still talking about less than 5% of the population on the whole, but that number is twice what it used to be 20 years ago. And you also have Gen Z consumers who are just taking meat out of their diets on certain days of the week just for fun and adjusting their lifestyles. And you know what? These things happen. Things change over time. But the cattle ranching industry definitely has an ally in Ron DeSantis who wants to do something to deliver a blow to the globalists in Davos who do, in fact, want to end meat consumption globally. Like there are far left elements in the world who want to end the consumption of meat. And so he sort of is using the culture war element there and Davos elites as his cover for what is more of a crony move in Florida.
So, and that's really the key thing here that I think needs to be brought to the floor and discussed, which is that multiple things can be true at once. And that doesn't mean that you're bowing down to any particular group out there when you say so. So first of all, I love farmers. I do. I grew up in rural Indiana. Farmers mean the world to me, not just like when a politician gets up and says farmers are important. I mean, as someone who worked around and on farms growing up a little, not a ton, I was not like a ranch hand or someone who, put in, 40 hours a week on the farm, but I've spent time working on farms and in college as well. And I know, obviously, as a science guy and a guy from the Midwest, how integral farms are to the country. However, it's also true that the WEF is terrible and it's, and their practices as well. Another thing that's true is that crony capitalism is bad. And I'm not even sure where I stand on the whole massive mess of subsidization entanglements, because they are entanglements on the farming industry in the country. And then all of the regulations as well. It's just unnecessary amidst this huge mess to be a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, this is kind of where I fall on it, just from a pure consumer choice perspective, is there is a very small market out there for people who would prefer lab-grown cultivated chicken over just a regular farm-raised, completely healthy and normal piece of fried chicken. Like,
if it's clearly labeled, what's the problem?
Yeah, if it's clearly labeled, there's also going to be people who adjust their diets over time who consider themselves vegetarians, but they would prefer not to be. But they're only
they don't
they're
like
only
the cruelty.
Yeah, the only objection that they have is not health; it's just the perception of animal cruelty and mass farming. And so, if it were, say, grown in a lab and there were no cruelty involved, then they would eat the lab grown chicken. Why not have food on the market for those people? I also am a little bit of a futurist, and you said as a scientist, like you just think it's cool that we can do that. I'm thinking about the Elon Musk vision of humanity 100 years from now, where we've got a stinking moon colony, Tony, and we need to be able to do this. Like we need to be able to feed people living off world. And I'm telling you, people, Indiana, everyone listening out there, we're going to be an interplanetary species. We are not going to die here in the next 10 years of global warming. We are going to travel the galaxy. And we're going to actually need to be able to do stuff like this so we can diversify our food sources.
And I think that's fair. I would go actually a different route, is that the ability to grow cultured cells in a lab environment would mean that at some point, God forbid, I got into some kind of an accident and the majority of my right bicep muscle was gone. And I would like to know that if I gave some of my bicep muscle cells to a laboratory environment, that they could grow some type of skeletal cell structure so that, again, my choice as an adult, if I said, you know what, I want to take the risk, see if you can grow my arm muscle back. And that's something that sounds like it should be fantasy, but it's not.
It's not
we
anymore.
are really at the cusp. So I think, like most other things, the government needs to stay out of this one. I'm sorry. I again love Governor Ron DeSantis. I love farmers. I think that a grass-fed ribeye is better than anything on this earth. In fact, it's entirely too long since I've had one. I need one very quickly.
You're joining the cult of Greta Thunberg, I see. Okay, Tony.
It's so unnecessary. Not everything is a conspiracy theory, and it's something that's really got on my nerves because some things are like plottish in how things are done, and some things just aren't. And on both sides of the aisle, and it just gets under my skin. It's not even that it makes me mad; it's just unnecessary. It's like when your toddler throws a fit and like there's nothing for them to be throwing a fit about. It's like, why?
Tony, have you ever had the plant protein based meats, Impossible burgers or Beyond Meat?
I have, and it tastes like granola that's been seasoned with pepper.
Yeah, like very, very salty, just overloaded kind of on the salt and pepper flavors, but it's got this weird graininess to it as a burger.
I will say this. I was at Topgolf for my bachelor party, and I did actually try, because they brought some by just to try, this is when they were introducing them, the buffalo cauliflower that was supposed to be like buffalo boneless wings, but it was cauliflower. I'll be honest with you, it was closer than I would like to admit. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's really interesting from a consumer standpoint. I've gotten a couple Impossible Burgers at places like really nice burger bars that they managed to dress up just enough to be super good.
Just a knife.
But
I like that.
Just a knife. But these products are never going to meet consumer demand over traditional meat. There is nothing to be afraid of as long as consumers have choices. So just like the globalist and the environmentalist radicals are going to try to come after used cars and anything that is not electric at one point, we don't need to kind of freak out and then ban electric cars in response. We need to have diversity of a lot of different options of people to drive. And if the globalists come after the old cars, we stop them. If the globalists come after the meat, we stop them. But we don't ban new things.
I'll throw this out as kind of a last word here because we're running really short on time. But I think it is necessary to point out that we, as members of the conservative side of the aisle, have not regulated farmers' ability to genetically modify either their crops nor their animals with new burgeoning sciences over the last couple of decades, because progress and manipulation by the individual in a free market is a good thing. It creates innovation. And with lab-grown meats as well, if this somehow creates a way for them to make 10-foot tall cows by the year 2045, dude, I'm here for it. It'll make the petting zoo a lot more interesting. Stephen Kent, Consumer Choice Center. Excellent article. That's over at The Blaze. We'll link that down below. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks, Tony.
You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
Do they still do mail and caramel?
Caramel, don't ever change.
I love the living statues that sit on the benches. They're awesome.
Yes, that's how people from Greenwood earn extra money. Oh, I'm going to get emails. What have I done? You know everybody here is just in debt and house poor up to their ass. Don't you laugh, Zionsville. You have it worse. $1.13 trillion of credit card debt. Half of that is on the west side of Carmel.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hammer Nigel here. Hammer, this is actually pretty amazing. If you could get a 15% upfront bonus on your money and a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years, what would you say?
Abso-freaking-lutely. And that's what Bill Demery can offer you right now. A 15% upfront bonus when you invest your money. And what I love about Bill Demery, I've met with him. He can explain this stuff in a way that I can understand. He breaks it down and it's so easy, Nige.
You know, there's a lot of advisors on this station, but we only put our name on one advisor that we trust, both of us, and that's Bill Demery, your retirement guy.
Help take care of your hard-earned money and reach out to Bill Demery right now. 317-648-5120. Ask about the 15% upfront bonus. 317-648-5120. Past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
Spring in Indy, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Don did. He called Rhino Shield.
Well, the home was built in 1948. Paint on the aluminum siding was peeling, and I couldn't find anyone who would repaint it until I called Rhino Shield.
Rhino Shield's better than paint, and the crew
painted all my aluminum siding, and I've got a front porch that runs the whole length of the house, and all the pillars and everything. And once they were gone, I couldn't even tell that they were there.
With Rhino Shield's 25-year transferable warranty, you'll never have to paint your home again. And right now, you can have Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
Well, I've told a lot of people, do the Rhino Shield. It's really a great product, and if you don't want to paint the house, that would be the way to go.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino!
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
I'm Al Unser Jr., two-time Indy 500 winner and a client at Exercise Inc. Change your life in 20 minutes once a week. ExerciseInc.com.
20% off container trees and shrubs and 30% off perennials this week at Sundown Gardens in Westfield, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com.
Need air conditioning service and want to work with a local trained dealer you can trust, like Stevenson Heating and Cooling? Find that American Standard air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for advice and fun, brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Life is a collection of moments that last forever, so make them matter and make them count with a symbol of everlasting love. A diamond from Pierce Jewelers. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. One of the most important things to a presidential administration, realistically, to any kind of administration anywhere, are the optics. Optics matter. How things are perceived matter. And the reason isn't because people are superficial. And this is what a lot of people in political campaigns and analysts on television networks will tell you, is that people are very superficial, and so all they really care about is how it looks. And that's not true, guys. The fact of the matter is that the majority of America, thank God in heaven, does not spend the majority of their time, like those of us in the political analysis cast do, watching politics. They don't. They don't spend time reading every single policy report. They don't spend time criticizing and analyzing every single word in relation to what policies were passed. They usually rely on us to do that because they are working real jobs. Many of you out there are currently on the second shift. And I know that because I've gotten messages that I am, for some reason, played on some of the floors of some of the factories and processing places around Indiana. I'm very thankful for the work that you guys are doing. And because many of you out there are working full jobs and you don't have time to fret over the specific little intricacies of every single thing in every political office, you rely on the optics. And realistically, when you get off work and for the few spare moments that you have in your day, you turn on the television or you pull out the phone and you scroll through what's gone on today, you see the good things and the bad things and how they compare to one another. And in the Biden administration right now, forget the presidential campaign. When you look at the administration and its policies right now, the optics are horrible. They are so desperately terrible. I can't even imagine how they could be worse than they have been so far in 2024. So, inflation is running rampant. And while the media is kind of trying to say that, well, in April, actually, inflation was a little bit lower, which is probably kind of a good thing, the consumer price index is still above what it is year over year that Americans expect and believe. You have Powell from the Fed coming out and saying that high interest rates are going to take longer than expected to lower inflation, which means the Fed hasn't raised interest rates enough. So that's really, really rough. And by the way, the president of the United States is running around telling everyone that he's done a phenomenal job and that actually he's lowered interest rates. And now you have reporters at the White House calling Karine Jean-Pierre. She doesn't even know how to respond.
I'm going to ask you about how the president talks about inflation. So 2 times over the past 2 weeks, the president said inflation was 9% when he came into office. Is the president misleading Americans on that, or does he just not realize that inflation was 1.4%?
So, you know, and thank you for the question, because I know that we got a lot of incoming on this yesterday. And look, what the president was, the point that he was making is that the factors that caused inflation was in place when he walked into the administration.
No, that's not what he said at all. No, that wasn't the question either. President Biden said this. That's not true. What is your response? Well, and you see like kind of the car sputtering because there's nowhere to run anymore. The optics are so terrible. Illegal immigration is up 3.8 million since President Biden became president. And that's about, according to the Washington Examiner, not to mention the strife around the world with Israel, fighting now in Rafah, and the incredible mess with the Biden administration flipping back and forth. So all of these optics, you would expect that the administration is taking things seriously. That every time anyone is on camera, they're saying, we understand these are problems. We're working around the clock to solve them. We get it. You're frustrated. We're frustrated. That's why we're trying to solve this. That would be an appropriate way optically to handle this. Instead, here's Secretary of State Antony Blinken playing guitar in Kyiv. So, let them eat cake or let them listen to cake or whatever. So while you're struggling with high gas prices, grocery prices, the strain on your local and national governments from illegal immigration as more migrants come to the border directly due to policies that the Biden administration was bragging about implementing the second he took office, to the international stage, as well as the enormous nonsense from university protesters who were supporting Hamas and the actions from October 7th to today, the Biden administration now has key cabinet members, like when Pete Buttigieg went on paternity leave or whatever. Now you've got Secretary Antony Blinken playing guitar in Kyiv, because yes, that's really what the Secretary of State should be doing right now. The United States is at a crisis point, both at home and abroad. And when Americans get off of work and see one of the major leaders in the United States in one of the first positions to take the presidency, if Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden were unavailable in some kind of a crisis scenario, he is one of the first people to step up and become president of the United States. He's over playing guitar. Well, I mean, yeah, that certainly is the look that you would want. By the way, I will remind you that when President Trump was in office and he went down to a disaster relief area after a hurricane and tossed paper towels into the crowd, the media went bonkers for days. But you have Secretary Blinken, he's playing guitar, he's jamming it out, having a good time over there. So, I mean, hey, when the money's flowing and the arms are coming in and there's no talks on diplomatic... By the way, Russia is currently in a state alliance meeting with China that we're softly condemning over here while he's, again, strumming on the guitar. So we'll be back tomorrow with more of the nonsense that you know and love. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. Have a good evening.
Get ready for